What's going on, gamers? Today I'm going to be giving you all the information you would ever need to know in order to get in shape, feel healthier, look better while still playing your favorite games every single day. With that being said, let's get right into it. I know there's a ton of information on the internet when it comes to getting in shape, and it may seem overwhelming and difficult, but there are only a few things that you need to actually take into account when it comes to transforming yourself forever. The first thing you need to do is start exercising. And yes, I know that's obvious, but how do you actually go about doing this properly? You'll see all over the internet that you have to do certain exercise splits or certain exercises to actually get in shape. And this is just simply not true. You only need to think about 3 different things when it comes to actually getting results. The first one is sustainability. You need to come up with an exercise routine that fits your schedule and one that you can actually stick to. So that could be 3 days a week or it could be 6 days a week. But don't feel like you have to go all the time to see results, because you don't. What you need to do is have a routine that you can stick to and one that you actually enjoy doing. So once you figure out how many days you can actually commit to exercise, then you can go ahead and pick one of these splits that fits your routine. The next things you're going to have to take into account are exercise selection, volume, and frequency. You don't need to do any certain exercises. However, you do have to do a certain amount of exercises per muscle group to get the right amount of volume over the week. So that means you have to have an exercise for your lats, your pecs, your quads, your hams, your biceps, your triceps, and all the other major muscle groups. And depending on the split that you pick, you'll either be doing multiple exercises for that muscle group on one day, or you'll split it up between multiple days. So once you figure out what exercises you actually want to do for each muscle group, then you have to make sure you get enough volume. What you need to make sure that you're doing is hitting 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week. And the best way for you to go about this is to make sure that you're hitting everything at least twice a week. So for example, you can hit chest twice a week for 5 to 10 sets each day, instead of hitting it once a week for 20 sets on that single day. This should be applied to every single muscle group and will depend on the split you pick in regards to how many days you want to train. For example, if you're doing 3 days a week full body, then make sure that you're hitting chest for at least 3 to 4 sets each day. That way, over the span of the week, you're getting in more than 10 sets. And since you're splitting it up between multiple days instead of just one day, you're getting enough volume and enough frequency to get the most out of your training. And if you're doing a 4 days a week upper lower split, then make sure across those 2 upper body days that you're hitting at least 10 sets of chest. And the same thing applies for every other muscle during your workout split. And keep in mind, when you're training chest and back, you're also hitting triceps, biceps, rear delts, and front delts. So you don't need to hit 10 isolated sets for those muscles. However, you should be doing at least one exercise for each one of them to make sure that you're getting the most out of your training. And if you're training 5 to 6 days a week, then the same principle applies. You just have more room to work with. Regardless of what workout split that you pick, make sure that in the span of the entire week, you hit each muscle at least 1 to 2 times for a minimum of 10 to 20 sets, split up between all of your exercise days. Also, make sure that you're having a full day's rest between each training day of a specific muscle. So don't be hitting chest twice in a row. And the most important thing to keep in mind when you are training is intensity. So this means you need to be implementing something called progressive overload. Progressive overload means that you are constantly pushing yourself to do a little bit more when you exercise, instead of just repeating the same thing over and over again. And in order for you to implement this, you need to be working within a specific rep range. So we've covered the importance of a certain amount of sets per muscle group. Now you need to pick a rep range to work in within those sets. Anything between 5 to 30 reps is great for muscle hypertrophy. However, to keep it simple, I would highly recommend you stay between 8 to 12 or 6 to 10 on your bigger movements. So with each set that you do, you need to be working within these rep ranges, and by doing this, you can implement progressive overload. For example, if you're doing bench press and you're doing 3 sets of 8 to 12, and on your first set you do 135 pounds and you get 10 reps. Then on your second set, you get 9 reps, and then on your third set, you get 8. Next time you bench press, you should do 135 pounds again, and let's say this time on your first set, you get 12 reps. Because you hit the upper end of your rep range, which is 8 to 12, the next set you do, you should be trying 140 to 145 pounds. And if you get more than 8 reps, which is the lowest end of your rep range on that second set, then stay at 140 to 145 pounds. But if you get less than 8 reps, then you should drop it back down to 135 and do your last set at that weight. This is called progressive overload. Whenever you hit the top end of your rep range, you need to increase the weight on your next set by 5 to 10 pounds, and only drop back down when you can't hit the bottom end of your rep range. Do this for every single exercise and you'll begin to build muscle like crazy. But also keep in mind, if you hit the top end of your rep range, but it felt like you were gonna die just getting there, then you can stay at that weight for your next set. But if you get 12 again, then you need to definitely go up. The more you train and the more you do this, the easier it's going to be for you to know when you should be upping the weight or when you should be decreasing the weight. A good thing to keep in mind, if you were constantly hitting the upper end of your rep range, you need to be increasing the weight. Because if you don't and you just go into the gym and do the same reps and the same weight every single week, you're not going to see any progress. The next thing that you need to figure out is your nutrition. Now keep in mind, this is the hardest and the most important part when it comes to actually seeing results. It doesn't matter how good your exercise program is, if you're not eating properly, nothing's going to work. So if you're trying to lose weight and build muscle, you should be in a calorie deficit with a high protein intake. What you need to do is find your maintenance calories. You can do this by going online and using a calorie calculator. Once you found it, then you can go ahead and drop that number by 500 calories. This is how many calories you should be eating in a day. The only other thing you need to focus on is your protein intake. A good place for you to start would be 1 gram per pound. Now, if you're extremely overweight, then you can go ahead and do 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. And if you're not that overweight, then you can actually go to 1.2 grams per pound. Once you've figured out these numbers, then you need to download an app like MyFitnessPal. What you're going to do is use this app to track the food you eat in the day and make sure that your calorie intake and your protein intake match the numbers that you have calculated for yourself. And that's all you have to do. Yes, it's that easy. And if you're trying to gain weight, then you need to find your maintenance calories, and instead of subtracting 500 from that number, you need to add 500 to that number. For your protein intake, you can go ahead and do 1 gram per pound of body weight. Then all you need to do is download MyFitnessPal, make sure that you're hitting your calorie and your protein goal, and you're going to start to see progress. Now keep in mind that these are rough estimates when it comes to caloric intake. So make sure that you're tracking for a full week. And if you don't see your weight go up or down by 1 to 2 pounds, depending on your goals, then you can go ahead and drop or add another 1 to 200 calories to that number and do this again for an entire week. Once you start to lose or gain 1 to 2 pounds per week, then you are on track and you can stay at that caloric intake and protein intake until you stop seeing results. Then again, you need to add or subtract 1 to 200 from that number and continue this until you reach your desired goal. And also keep in mind that when you're eating, you can follow the 80-20 rule, which means that 80% of the time you're eating good whole food options, and 20% of the time you're eating whatever else that you like. However, it is recommended that you stick to only good solid whole foods to see the best and the quickest results. But always remember to do what works best for you and what you can stick to. Lastly, all you have to do to make sure that you get in the best shape of your life, be consistent with those 2 steps and trust the process. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen if you don't give up. That's really all it takes. So once you've developed a good, solid exercise routine that you can stick to and that you enjoy, and found your caloric and protein intake, continuously work towards hitting those goals and find a way to fit them into your daily routine that is enjoyable and repeatable, and you'll transform yourself faster than you ever thought possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you got any value out of this video or you want to see videos like this in the future, feel free to hit that like button, sub to the channel, and ring that bell notification so that you can stay ahead of every other gamer and unlock your full potential. Much love, guys. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.